So our tagline is really feet on the ground, head in the cloud. And that really works. It works internally, it works externally.
It's a super hot market out there for attracting and retaining talent. And I know that you are spending a lot of time to identifying and attracting, the best talent relevant for SEB. Could you elaborate a little bit about how you run that, Petra?
I think, first of all, we have spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is tech at our company, at SEB. And I think it's so important that you are true to yourself. So you really know what is the role, what are your possibilities, and what are not your possibilities. So our tagline is really feet on the ground, head in the cloud. And that really works. It works internally, it works externally. And from that we can communicate, both externally, internally. And because I've seen so many cases in my life, you promise something, and the person doesn't thrive because he or she didn't get what they thought they would get. So I think that is so important that you set the first, and then you can build from that. Because then you know what you're aiming for. So you also need to know how you want to evolve your company. Is tech going to be more important or less important? Are you buying more? Are you building more? So I think we have a really good starting point at SEB.
And when you talk about attracting and retaining talent, a guiding principle, I know, is about inclusion and diversity. And how do you lead from the front in with regards to both inclusion and diversity? And what do you put in to diversity? Because it can mean so many different shapes and forms with gender and age and ethical background. So could you elaborate a little bit about inclusion and diversity in the context of the people?
Yeah, and I think, first of all, I'm so glad you said inclusion first, because that's also what we say first. That could be difference in thoughts. Making sure us being a bank, when we have an idea, we involve somebody from risk or compliance, or a banking person, or a tech person. And then, of course, we look a lot on making sure, how do we get this diversity of thoughts? And that, of course, could come from different universities, could be genders, could be age. So, of course, when we try to attract and retain talent, we look on the parameters when we are searching. And we also know that in some areas we've been struggling to get female. So, of course, sometimes we need to, work a bit extra. So I've personally been involved in something called pink programming. It's a voluntary-based organization. Of course, we as company subsidize a bit. But, it's been so fun. It's normally Sunday or Saturday to see females. Some of them have never even tried coding. And then after said, it was like a language. And you get other females, because sometimes you need to create that atmosphere where you feel safe. And we have other areas where we feel that, we speak mostly Swedish. Then you need to get more than one non-Swedish person in that team. So then we try to think, maybe we hire 3 at the same time. So it's not the thing that we start to speak English in that team. So I think in many of the cases, if you truly want to be inclusive of diversity, you really need to think of how you do the setup.
Here at Google, when we hire people, we take different approaches. So we look for role-related skills, we're looking for leadership skills. We're also looking for what we call Googliness. And that is exactly to your point, to see that the values resonate with the Google values. How do you make sure that the people you bring into SEB resonates with the SEB values and that the behaviors that you're looking for?
I think, like you said, it's super important for us. A couple of years ago, we had a problem when getting the right talents and figuring out. So we actually acquired a talent acquisition team that we now have internally. And they are so good in making sure that we really get the right kind of candidates. And they work a lot with data trying to figure out. So I think in getting the right selection is also helping the manager and not looking on the wrong selection. So I think that is the first step. But then, of course, we do like you. We spend a lot of time. Because we also want to be fair, a little bit like I said, we want you to be interested in learning. So we try to take those discussions before we hire. Would you like to be in the company? This is what's going to happen. We work in an agile world. This is what's going to happen. And I think you pretty fast feel, is that something you like, or will you thrive or not? But I think a big help is really also the acquisition team, that we get in the right kind of talents from a start that helps all the line managers.